Hello and welcome to the Maryland Energy Innovation Accelerator's 2021 Pitch Competition Finale. My name is Brian Toll and I'm MEIA's director and your moderator for today's program. MEIA is an initiative of the Maryland Clean Energy Center that focuses on commercializing technology developed at Maryland-based businesses, universities, and laboratories. Our mission is to create and accelerate investible Maryland-based advanced energy and climate technology businesses. On your screen is today's program. We'll start with remarks from our guest speakers, followed by an introduction to MEIA. Then we'll meet the judges and begin our pitch presentations. After the presentations, we'll take an audience poll and conclude with two prizes. First, the People's Choice Award, and second, the judges' selection for the $1,000 grand prize, sponsored by the Maryland Department of Commerce. So let's begin. Our first speaker today is Chairman of the Board of the Maryland Clean Energy Center, Geoff Oxnam. Geoff is also founder and CEO of American Microgrid Solutions. Welcome, Geoff.
Hey, thanks a lot, Brian. And I want to thank everybody for making time to be here today. If you are an energy geek and a technology geek the way I am, today's an exciting day because we get to see what some of the most innovative technology coming out of Maryland universities is, and as it approaches the marketplace through all of the great work that Brian and the team do at MEIA, to bring to the rest of us what has been nurtured here in Maryland's universities is really, really exciting. So I want to, first of all, thank and congratulate everybody who's participating in this competition. The genius that is here today is truly exciting and inspiring to see. I certainly want to thank Brian and Ben and the team at MEIA. You guys have done a phenomenal job of helping accelerate and bring together these great opportunities and companies that'll be the future of the energy space. Also to thank Kathy Magruder and Sabrina Bachman for all their work from Maryland Clean Energy Center. So MEIA is a program of the Maryland Clean Energy Center. The Maryland Clean Energy Center is an instrumentality of the state of Maryland. Its job is to bridge the gap between what the public sector has led and wanted to do and what the private sector is striving to achieve. We help to bring ideas, technology, and relationships all together in order to advance the state of energy in the state of Maryland. So thanks, Kathy, and thanks, Sabrina, for all your work. I also want to thank two of the most important people in the state of Maryland in terms of promoting advanced energy technology. Secretary Schulz, who you'll hear from in a little bit, has done a great deal to support and sponsor and further along the growth of energy opportunities, particularly as they help to bring businesses to the state or strengthen current businesses. So Secretary Schulz, thank you for your leadership. Another truly inspirational leader I've really had the great pleasure to get to know over the last few years is Delegate Lily Qi, who joins us. Brian will give Delegate Qi the full introduction in a moment. But Delegate Qi is another person who has internalized and championed that nexus between technology and energy and the obvious reasons why Maryland is a leader in this space. Again, to all of the teams that are here today, good luck. Thank you for your passion and commitment and inspiring the rest of us. So on behalf of MCEC, excited to see what we're going to learn today. And Brian, I'll hand it back to you.
Great, thank you so much, Geoff. Our next speaker today is Delegate Lily Qi, representing District 15 in Montgomery County. Welcome, Delegate Qi.
Well, thank you, Brian, and thank you everyone for being here. I am sorry you cannot see me, but hopefully you can hear me very clearly.
I want to first congratulate today's 4 finalists for completing the MEIA. I think now I learned it's called the MEIA, right, for short, cohort. Thank you for putting in the sweat equity to advance clean energy technologies and build companies around great ideas. This is what innovation entrepreneurship is all about, and this is Maryland's competitive advantage. I want to take a moment to thank the Maryland Clean Energy Center and its leadership, Kathy Magruder, Geoff Oxnam, and Brian Toll for running MEIA so effectively, and others for all the hard work you put in over the past years and over a decade, in fact, to grow Maryland's clean energy economy and to make sure that clean energy innovation entrepreneurship, especially, is part of our state's economic development strategy. Innovation economy is an area I'm deeply passionate about. For about a decade, I worked in that space with private partners and academic partners to make sure that Maryland is a national and global leader in the biotech sector. And I'm very happy to see that the same concept can be applied to advance the clean energy space. On that note, I also want to take a moment to thank the Department of Commerce and the Secretary Kelly Schulz for their support and leadership as well. Over the past couple of years, I have had a great pleasure of working with both MCEC and MEII, the Maryland Energy Innovation Institute, to make sure Maryland continues to make smart investments in clean energy innovation and commercialization of technologies. So with their support and help and a strategic partnership, and with the help of my Senator, Senator Brian Feldman, who serves on the Senate Finance Committee, I introduced HB 419, which successfully passed this legislative session. It's the Clean Energy Innovation and Investment Bill to not only solidify, but to expand our state's support for both MCEC and MEII. This bill would officially designate MCEC as a state-sponsored green bank. So it's an identifiable partner to leverage private capital to invest in clean energy projects and technologies, as MCEC has successfully done for many years. It would also establish an accelerator to build on what MEIA is doing to take our tech entrepreneurship and commercialization to the next level. But I'm disappointed, I have to admit, that the governor has vetoed the bill. We agree to disagree on how to do that. I believe he believes in the importance of clean energy entrepreneurship and innovation. And hopefully we can work something out in the coming legislative session. But I will continue to look forward to being a strong partner of whatever you do. And congratulations again to everyone on today's call. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Secretary of the Maryland Department of Commerce, Kelly Schulz. Welcome, Secretary Schulz. You'll need to take yourself off mute.
Yes, I just did that. Sorry, my mouse wasn't working as fast as my mouth was, and so we have to do that. Good afternoon to everyone. Hopefully everyone is enjoying this wonderful, beautiful day. And as you said, I'm Kelly Schulz. I'm Maryland's Secretary of Commerce. Huge thanks to Delegate Qi in her efforts, and of course, Senator Feldman, my old counterpart from when he used to be on the Economic Matters Committee, and we served together in that capacity. And obviously, this is a big issue for all of us in the state of Maryland, especially for the governor. But I'm thrilled to be here celebrating MEIA's 2021 cohort, which includes 4 of the brightest, most creative, and most promising new businesses in Maryland today. And I'll say probably the most resilient, where it's a big word that we're using these days in order to be able to come to the post-pandemic. In Maryland, we pride ourselves in innovation and resiliency, and of being a place where bold new ideas can grow. And we have a rich ecosystem that supports innovation and entrepreneurship. Our research universities, our federal laboratories, and our community of startups, incubators, and accelerators. The Department of Commerce is proud to support programs like MEIA because companies like the 4 of you are an important part of why Maryland is such a great place to do business. Cultivating innovative startups helps us show companies across the world that Maryland has a critical mass of talent and technology. This is a very exciting time in Maryland, very exciting time. There are enormous opportunities in our clean energy sector. In collaboration with Virginia and North Carolina, we are poised to become a leader in the development of offshore wind energy along the entire East Coast. We have a great location and strategic investments in infrastructure at our ports, which makes us a perfect spot for the development of an offshore wind energy supply chain. The Biden administration has called for 30 gigawatts of new offshore wind power by 2030. This has created new momentum in this industry and new opportunities here in Maryland. Multiple state agencies in Maryland are working together. I want to emphasize that. Multiple state agencies are working together and collaborating with Maryland nonprofits to bring wind energy to Maryland. The Maryland clean energy sector has seen exciting success in energy storage. Ion storage systems, hopefully some of you have heard about them, which we named one of Maryland's Future 20 last year in November, recently moved from its lab at the University of Maryland to a new manufacturing facility in Beltsville. This is a company with potential to transform battery storage, with a specific focus on the automotive and large-scale storage sectors. The Department of Commerce is working with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources to finalize the energy adjustment strategy for the Maryland's timber industry. Perhaps you've heard about how important woody biomass is, and that energy source is to the state of Maryland. This would not only create demand for Maryland pulpwood, but would help manage the health of Maryland's forests. Maryland companies are developing advanced technologies to help us reach zero emission energy production. X Energy, for example, in Bethesda, is just one great example. They've been awarded a grant from the US Department of Energy to produce next generation nuclear energy, which could serve as a backup to wind and solar energy during times of high energy demand. These are just a few examples. There's many, many more. And I know that the companies in MEIA's 2021 cohort will help us move farther and faster to a world where all energy is clean energy and where a diverse array of new technology helps us meet our needs while allowing us to be good stewards of our environment and our planet. So, congratulations to our 4 companies, Aqualith, High-T Tech, InventWood, which is, by the way, another company who appeared on our Future 20 list last year, and Manta Biofuel. You all have great things in your futures. And when there's great things in your futures, there's great things in Maryland's future. And a special thanks to MEIA, the entire team at MCEC, a wonderful collaborative supporting help moving forward. And we can't wait to continue to support all of you and these innovative minds moving forward. So keep up the great work and look forward to seeing the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker today is Ben Margolis, the Commercialization Manager at MEIA. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Brian, and good afternoon, everyone. So as Brian said, I'm Ben Margolis, the Commercialization Manager here. And so I work with the teams to recruit members as a project manager to guide them through our program. So for those of you who are new to MEIA, or as I call it, MEIA, the main focus of MEIA is to support early stage clean energy and climate technology innovations with an ecosystem-based approach. So if you look at our ecosystem of support here, the startup team, or in this case, might be a university professor who invents a new technology and is seeking MEIA's help to form a startup team, investigate applications for the technology, create its first business plan, and launch the company. Alternatively, the startup team might be an established small pre-revenue business that has specific gaps to fill or milestones to achieve that would make that team investable to third-party capital providers. So we help by matching these startup teams with business executives, or as we call them, energy executives in residence, or EEIRs, highlighted here in the upper left. Our goal is to find very well qualified people who will consult to the startup team with an eye towards potentially joining that team as a founder or employee at the end of the consulting engagement. We then approach the market for strategic partnerships to support and mentor those teams. Strategic partners are corporations that donate their time and resources towards supporting our teams in their search for product market fit. Startup teams then have access to support from our professional services sponsors, which include the law, accounting, and marketing firms that you'll hear from today. And then finally, because everyone is part-time, MEIA provides project management that keeps everyone on task and moving towards the specific milestones. Ultimately, this ecosystem of support leads directly to the creation and acceleration of high-quality Maryland-based businesses that are solving critical problems in the areas of clean energy and climate. So MEIA has 3 different programs that support startup teams at different levels of maturity. The first program here is our summer pre-accelerator program, which is a program for very early stage concepts and businesses that mirrors the University of Maryland's NSF I-Corps training program and works in conjunction with MTech Ventures out of University of Maryland. This is a structured program that utilizes a customer discovery process to find product market fit and define the value proposition for specific customer segments. The Launchpad program is a specific program tailored to high potential technologies developed in Maryland-based university or federal labs, where the technology has not been licensed and the inventor wants MEIA's help to start a business to commercialize the technology. Typically, the inventor does not want to be the CEO of the company, so MEIA focuses on finding our EEIRs who are interested to take the leadership roles in the company. The last program is our accelerator program. This is the program for companies that have already formed and have professional managers in place, but have a significant need in their commercialization process. In these cases, we work with candidates specific to filling that need and develop a program scope to deliver on it. Ultimately, the goal is to position that EEIR as a senior leader or potential board member for the company and to enhance the company's attractiveness for third-party capital providers. All of these programs leverage the same ecosystem-based approach, and with the great teams, the great technology, and ecosystem of support, Maryland can be the next great innovator in clean energy and climate technologies. So I'm excited to see our latest batch of teams present to you today. And so I'll turn it back over to Brian to introduce the judges.
Super, thank you. So now let's meet our judges. Our first judge today is Theresa Christian from Exelon. Welcome, Theresa.
Hi, Brian. Nice to meet everyone. I'm a senior manager at Exelon in our corporate strategy function and looking forward to going through the event today and seeing from all these exciting companies. Thanks.
Thanks. Next is Ian Johnston from The Engine. Welcome, Ian.
Pleasure to meet you all. From The Engine, we're a VC firm born out of MIT, focused on tough tech. One of our key buckets is climate, which is obviously very relevant today. Very interested in hearing about the technologies and getting involved. Happy to be here.
Super, welcome. Our final judge today is Cyril Yi from Third Derivative. Welcome, Cyril.
Hi, I'm Cyril Yi. I'm the head of investments and research for Third Derivative, and we're an accelerator ecosystem tied to the Rocky Mountain Institute that connects VC funds, accelerators, startups, and corporates all together. Thanks.
Welcome. All right, it's time to begin our pitch presentations. In between each presentation, while the judges are filling out their scorecards, we'll take a few minutes to meet our sponsors. So our first team today is Aqualith. Please welcome CEO Ted Olson. Ted, you will have 10 minutes for your presentation and 5 minutes of Q&A with the judges. Please begin.
All right, thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ted Olson. I'm the CEO of Aqualith Advanced Materials. Here at Aqualith, we've built a business for consumer electronic aficionados who want to spend less time charging their devices. We make revolutionary materials for lithium-ion batteries. We don't make the batteries, we make the materials. And we do that so that all of us can spend more time enjoying our lap phone, smart speakers, electric vehicles, you name it, as opposed to being tethered into the wall. We built Aqualith on a growing portfolio of patents exclusively licensed from College Park. As a matter of fact, this invention was recognized as the 2020 Invention of the Year at the university. My partner, Greg Cooper, and I are serial entrepreneurs. This is my fourth startup. So I sold my last company last summer to Smith's Group, which is a publicly traded London-based company. So Aqualith is focusing on this exploding need for energy storage. And as you can see, this is a very large market. It's growing pretty rapidly. Put this in perspective, by 2050, if you look at the capacity required in consumer electronic, or maybe electronic batteries just in general, there's 30,000 gigawatt hours required, which is equivalent of about 1,000 Tesla gigafactories in Reno, Nevada. Tesla spent over $4 billion on that factory. So 1,000 of those factories is trillions of dollars. We're coming into play by bringing breakthrough technologies to the market that's going to require less batteries and less battery making capacity to be able to service this demand. Next slide, please. Elon Musk probably states the value proposition that we have most succinctly. The limit of Tesla's growth, as well as the limit of many consumer electronic companies, especially with big energy needs, is the price of an affordable battery cell. Next slide, please. Our technology brings to market 4 very unique features that, when packaged together, offer a very disruptive product to the market. First, higher energy density. Our technology offers 40 to 60% higher energy density than what's available on the market today. The technology is low cost. We do not use any cobalt or nickel, so the cost of the raw materials is significantly lower than what's used today. The technology is very safe. We use aqueous electrolyte, which doesn't burn, so you don't see the type of issues that Tesla has when one of their cars has a short circuit in the battery pack and the car goes up in flames. And finally, the technology works at a very, very broad temperature range. The military is looking for applications at the North Pole to the equator, and our technology meets both those needs very well. We have publications down to minus 50 degrees centigrade, and we also have energy testing that's been done in tropic conditions. Next slide, please. Geoff Don is Elon Musk and Tesla's subject matter expert on lithium-ion batteries. When he was in Maryland last year visiting Dr. Wong, this was what he said when he was exposed to the technology. Most creative battery chemistry he's seen in at least 10 years. So very, very strong endorsement. Next slide, please. Our commercialization strategy. We need one market to start with, and we've selected military, and we primarily are doing that because the Army Research Lab jointly owns some of this IP along with the University of Maryland. And the Army Research Lab, Dr. Wong's laboratory, and a local Maryland company, SAFT, are working on military batteries today. We've been invited to join that triumvirate as the 4th leg of the stool. And what we're going to be able to do is bring the materials that we will manufacture. We will sell those through to SAFT. SAFT will put them into batteries. The batteries will go to the military. The military will do all the validation testing. And then we'll have that data pack to be able to take with us as we continue to expand into other consumer electronics devices like smartphones, tablets, laptops, and then ultimately into electric vehicles. Next slide, please. The ecosystem and the customer base and really competitive landscape is pretty diverse. On the right, you see these huge deep-pocketed multinational companies that make up the lion's share of lithium-ion batteries today worldwide. All of those are Aqualith customers. On the left, this table is high technology companies that are making breakthrough innovation in silicon and lithium-ion batteries. And we look at all of those folks as being people that we can partner with in a synergistic way. They're typically focused on one aspect of the battery, and we can bring our cathodes, anodes, and electrolytes to market and help enhance their value proposition. It's interesting to note in the last 12 months, $16 billion has been invested in advanced lithium-ion batteries around the world. So lots of interest, and we're going to help support that industry as we grow our manufacturing base. Next slide, please. An example of this is the first product we're going to take to market, our cathode material. And the reason we just started with the cathode is it makes up 40% of the battery cell cost. And what we're able to do is, since we don't use nickel or cobalt in our chemistry, our batteries right out of the blocks are 20% cheaper. And since we have higher energy content, a customer doesn't need as many battery cells, and thus there's not as much battery material required. And if you work through the math, there's a significant cost reduction available. And when you put that in context of the 2020 projected demand, there's $21 billion of either cost reduction or cost avoidance that we offer the industry if the entire industry were to switch over to our cathode materials. Next slide, please. Intellectual property. As I mentioned earlier, the technology was invented at the University of Maryland. It's jointly owned between College Park and the Army Research Lab. The Department of Energy and the Department of Defense have funded Dr. Wong's lab to the tune of $10 million over the last number of years. We have the exclusive license with worldwide rights to all fields of this technology. And we also have rights for new inventions coming out of his lab. We were excited 2 weeks ago to know that Dr. Wong was just awarded $5 million of additional funding from the Department of Energy over the next 3 years. So there's a very committed base of government sponsors behind this technology, and they're pushing both the University of Maryland and Dr. Wong very hard to commercialize the technology. That's where Aqualith comes in. We are the path to market. Next slide, please. Our financial projections. First couple years, we're going to spend a bunch of money, and the resources we invest are going to be building out our facility, our research labs, our prototype shop, hiring a team, writing grant applications, and making prototypes in scale that we can sample customers. In 2023, the commercial ramp up starts with revenue starting to flow. 2024, the slope of that revenue curve starts to ramp up dramatically. We're very excited with the relationships we have with the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense. Since they are pushing so hard to commercialize this technology, we are confident we're going to be able to secure a couple $1 million a year in non-dilutive funding through grants coming from those organizations. Next slide, please. We're on the homeward stretch of our raising a seed round. We're taking up to $2 million in seed funding. And with that, we're going to hire our technical team. We're going to establish a lab and prototype manufacturing capabilities, apply for grants, and start the initial production scaling process. Next slide. Key milestones. The end of 2021, we will have our lab started up. We'll have the technology transferred from Dr. Wong's research laboratory into our facility, and we'll be making small cells that we can make on a repeatable basis so we can get our hands around the technology, the processes, and the value stream that's associated. Middle of 2022, we're going to bump up the energy capacity of those cells that we're making by an order of magnitude. And by the middle of next year, we think that's going to lead us to opportunities to talk to the market in terms of mergers and acquisition discussions, royalty discussions, licensing discussions, as well as manufacturing scale up. So we think this can go very quickly, and it can turn into a very, very quick way of turning around an investment on the technology that's been made so far. Next slide, please. The team that's leading Aqualith were Cyril entrepreneurs. You heard a little bit about me. My partner, Greg Cooper, is a University of Maryland PhD in physics. He was the founder of Pixelogen Technologies. And as a matter of fact, Greg and I first met each other at 15 years ago, working in the TAP building over by the Verizon or the Comcast Center on our early companies in our career. We have Dr. Chungxing Wang, who's joining us as a founder. He is one of the lithium-ion battery experts in the world, and we're delighted to have him with us. We've started a scientific advisory board, of which Dr. Wang is going to be the chair. We've already added Dr. Cindy Lundgren, recently retired from the Army Research Lab, where she managed many of these battery development programs for them. We're in conversations with Dr. Mark Johnson, formerly of the Department of Energy, who's now a faculty member at Clemson University. And we have discussions going on in Western Europe with a former director at BASF that's there to help us with business development on the continent. We're surrounding ourselves with some high-powered advisors. We have George Davis, who used to run TEDCO at the state of Maryland, and Rick Kaur, who's the managing partner of Evergreen Advisors. They're helping us on the strategic advice side. Next slide, please.
We need to wrap up here.
So in summary, we have batteries that are technology that offers complete anode cathode electrolyte technologies. They're cost effective. They have higher energy density. They're safe, and they work at a broad temperature range. We have a team of entrepreneurs who's done this before, has the scars to show for it, and we're investing our own time and capital into making this happen. And finally, we're raising a seed round, and we're on the homeward stretch, and we're looking for, next slide, please. We're looking for partners who will join us on this journey. So can I take any of your questions?
Great. Thank you so much, Ted. This is terrific. We're going to start our Q&A with Theresa, if you have the first question.
Sure, thank you. Appreciate the presentation, really exciting. I'd love to hear a little bit more about two things that they're related. The first is on the technology side. What do you anticipate are some of the technical challenges with the cathode material that you're going to be producing, and how will you address and retire the risks from that technical side? And secondly, what do you anticipate as being someone that what do you see as some needs on your team over the first couple years in that effort?
So let me take the second question first. So on our team, we're working on bringing in somebody from the battery industry today, somebody who comes out of the lithium ion battery industry. There's no need for us to learn all the blocking and tackling things on our own. It already exists, no need to recreate it. So somebody from the industry. And then the other place that we're finding a really big need already is there's such a diverse customer base out there. We need someone who can help us with business development, with the auto companies, with the computer folks, with the chemical companies, with the energy storage from windmills and solar. There's many, many conversations to be had, and it just takes time to find the people to talk to, have the conversations, and be able to follow up. So those are a couple of our early needs. We have some people soft circled for our staff, University of Maryland grad students and alumni. So we're already making things happen there. On the cathode side, I think the thing it's a huge positive is we don't have to deal with cobalt or nickel, which are limited in supply, and some of them come from very challenging parts of the world. But, pardon?
Go ahead.
But with that, the salts that we're using, we're going to have to scale up the manufacturing infrastructure to supply those. There's lithium suppliers in the United States. There's US sources of lithium, but the salts that we're using, lithium chloride, lithium bromide, are not something that are made in huge quantities today. So that's going to be one of the things we have to deal with. And then the other part is, I think, is getting the relationships built, and we're doing this through partnering that we've already had outreach with some customers in terms of getting battery makers excited about the technology, so they'll want to pull the materials through and pass them on to end users. So a lot of this is the business development work of a company at this stage.
Thank you. Ian, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, great presentation. A key question I had was around the business model. It sounds very much like you're selling the materials to these manufacturers who would otherwise be competing. So I guess, how are you thinking about that business model of, supplying various competing companies, particularly in a space that's so attractive right now? And I guess in the long term, have you thought about being that battery producer? If you have all these advantageous cathodes, anodes, and materials, why not produce your own product at some point?
So the reason we focused on materials is primarily that there's a big installed base of battery manufacturers today, and it takes a lot of capital to get into that space. So at this point, we have drop-in products that can go to those existing manufacturing lines. They pull out material A and they replace it with Aqualith's material. So it's a very straightforward conversion. In my career, I've spent 20 years working in big Fortune 500 companies making materials for OEM manufacturers. And that's one of the reasons our business model is where it is today. We can focus on very straightforward, relatively simple, and not very costly manufacturing processes. We're expecting, when we get to scale making these materials, we'll have to make an investment in a factory, but the investment will be in the tens of millions of dollars, low tens of millions, compared to a battery factory that might, for a line in a battery factory, might cost $250 million.
Cyril, would you like to ask the third question?
Yeah, it's great to hear that it's a drop into existing manufacturing. As you said, that's important. I guess my questions are on the performance demonstrated to date. What's your Coulombic efficiency and what's your cycle life? And it's all been at coin cell size, right?
Yeah, that's primarily what Dr. Wong is doing. So Coulombic efficiency is comparable to other technologies on the market. We're 99.95%, so very, very strong. What was the second?
Cycle life?
Cycle life. So we are focused on getting up to 1,500 cycles, but the technology is being used in a research lab. They've run hundreds of cycles. They haven't run thousands of cycles yet. So that's one of the things that we're going to have to do. It's interesting. There's a big medical device company that I was talking to, and they're for implantable devices. Their sort of MO for batteries is they'd like to have 500 cycles. And I'm not sure if we've gotten quite to 500 yet, but we have 300-400 cycles that have been done in Dr. Wong's lab.
Thank you very much, Ted. Thank you, judges. We're going to move on to our next part. MEIA and our participating teams are supported by sponsors that provide both financial and in-kind support. I want to thank our sponsors and give all of you a chance to meet them. Our first sponsor today is Scott Dubchik from Exelon. Welcome, Scott.
Great, thank you, Brian. And just wanted to start by thanking you and Ben for all the hard work with MEIA and for MCEC for the sponsorship of the accelerator. And again, to the 4 companies pitching today, great work so far, and wish you all the best. Just quickly about Exelon. Exelon's a Fortune 100 company that works in all stages of the energy business, from power generation to competitive energy sales, transmission, and delivery. And as the nation's largest competitive energy provider, Exelon does business in 40 states and owns 6 regulated utilities. And we have a very kind of strong footprint here in the DC, Maryland area, with 2 of our utilities being Baltimore Gas and Electric and Pepco, and having a large kind of Baltimore-based headquarters building. So, we're very tied into the local area. In terms of why we sponsored MEIA, it's really a collaboration between 2 parts of our organization. So in our corporate strategy group, you've heard from Theresa, one of our judges, who works with our partnership R&D program, partnering with government institutions and national labs, academic institutions, as well as private organizations to develop technologies that address long-term challenges for our businesses as well as the industry in general. And then where I sit in the organization is I manage Exelon's corporate VC. So we are doing energy investing in startups that basically align with challenges or opportunities in our businesses, and we look to engage with them through an investment as well as through providing strategic support as we look to evolve our businesses and help startups evolve themselves. So this was a good opportunity for us to kind of get involved in, again, a local accelerator, very kind of near and dear to where we live and work, as well as to kind of help the industry overall and hopefully help to evolve our businesses. So really happy to be here and really happy to be a sponsor. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce Gary Fedorochko from the intellectual property law firm Banner Whitcoff. Welcome, Gary. And I see Mike is with you.
Yes, thank you, Brian. And we appreciate the opportunity and are excited to support the accelerator. On behalf of Banner Whitcoff, and Mike and I would like to congratulate the teams for making it to the pitch day. And the technologies are very interesting, and we're excited to listen to more. And we're happy to hear about Aqualith and look forward to the other participants. Banner Whitcoff is a national law firm which specializes in intellectual property. We've been working with the teams to evaluate their intellectual property and to educate them on how to protect their IP and why it's critical in their success going forward. For those that might not be wholly familiar with IP, what we are referring to are patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. Our firm's been around for quite some time, over 100 years, which makes us one of the oldest IP firms in the US. And we have over 115 IP professionals. Nearly all of us have technical degrees, either engineering or science degrees, which span every possible discipline you could imagine. And in fact, half of us have advanced degrees as well. We have enjoyed our experience with Cohort 2, providing advice related to patent portfolio analysis, patent licensing, and trademarks. We also provided a presentation on intellectual property enforcement. A tech startup value is almost always based on their intellectual property, so protecting it is essential. We hope the teams found our advice and presentation to be helpful. We've enjoyed the opportunity to work with them. And for more information on our firm, please contact Mike and I directly or visit our website that's identified here on the screen. We wish all the teams great success and thank you again.
Thank you, Gary, Mike.
Thanks.
Our second team today is High T Tech. Please welcome CEO Bob Gaddy. Bob, you'll have 10 minutes for your presentation and 5 minutes of Q&A with the judges. Please begin.
Thank you, Brian. And thank all of you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you today and to present an overview of our company, High T Tech. We're a startup that recently spun out of the laboratories of the University of Maryland College Park and also Johns Hopkins University. The High T Tech technology platform is called thermal shock synthesis. The technology enables energy efficient production of unique multi-element materials with high value applications, including as catalysts. We were one of the lucky participants in the MEIA program during the last cohort, and this has helped us tremendously over a relatively short period of time. Ben and Brian have provided resources, guidance, and this has really accelerated our growth. I should introduce myself. My name is Bob Gaddy. I'm the CEO of High T Tech. I recently joined after retiring after a 30-year career with W.R. Grace in Columbia, Maryland. Grace is one of the world's largest catalyst producers, and I led several of the business units there at different times, including Grace's billion-dollar refining catalyst business. At the end of my time at Grace, I was the company's CTO. Next slide, Ben. Now, catalysts are used to produce a wide variety of materials that are cornerstones of several key global value chains. These include fertilizers for farming, transportation fuels, plastics, pharmaceuticals, just to name a few. Manufacturing methods that utilize catalysts are very energy intensive because catalytic processes typically rely on high temperature reactions, and because catalysts themselves often need to be wetted and dried several times during production. No matter how efficiently you design a process, enormous amounts of heat can be wasted. Think about a typical oven. Heating elements are on the edges or the bottom, and heat must transfer by radiation or convection to the material being processed. This wastes a lot of heat. The environmental impacts of these inefficient processes are profound. According to Our World in Data, chemicals and petrochemical processes emit nearly 6% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Most of that is from energy use, but some of it is emissions from the processes themselves. In addition, many future clean energy processes, such as hydrogen or ammonia-based fuel technologies, rely on specialized catalysts at their core. A high-tech technology greatly enhances efficiency of catalytic production while creating new compositions of matter with extraordinary catalytic capabilities. And honestly, that's why I wanted to get involved with the company. I saw something unique and I wanted to be a part of bringing it to market. My involvement with MEIA, initially as an energy executive in residence, gave me a unique try before you buy opportunity to get to know high-tech before agreeing to become their CEO. So our disruptive thermal shock synthesis process was the cover article in Science in March of 2018. The process involves extreme rapid heating and cooling, a thermal shock pulse that creates novel uniform multimetallic nanoparticles called high entropy alloys, or HEAs. The electron micrographs on the slide show the uniform distribution of elements in a single HEA nanoparticle. In 2018, we demonstrated the ability to mix up to 8 elements to create highly stable particles with unique catalytic capabilities. Today, we can mix 12 elements or more. Now, you might be wondering why more elements? Well, it turns out the more elements in the particle, the greater the entropy of the final HEA, and the more stability the particles exhibit during catalytic reactions. This provides a significant advantage over traditional multimetallic catalyst systems. Next one, Ben. Thermal shock synthesis technique relies on a rapid joule heating of metal precursor salts on a substrate, in this case carbon fibers, and through which an electric pulse is applied. The resulting local temperature increase is rapid and substantial, generating several thousands of degrees Kelvin in fractions of a second. The cool down quench step is just as rapid, and this essentially freezes the multimetallic particles into a solid solution or a high entropy alloy. We've demonstrated the ability to create HEA particles on a variety of commercially relevant supports, including carbon, silica, and aluminum. The IP is owned by the University of Maryland, licensed on an exclusive basis to high-tech. It covers process of manufacture, it covers compositions of matter, and it covers certain applications. Next slide. Now, the value proposition. In one specific application, this would be the oxidation of ammonia to produce nitric acid. We've demonstrated that a specific 5-component mixture provides many advantages versus traditional catalysts in this application. Specifically, lower use of precious metals in the finished catalyst, lower operating temperatures, providing energy savings for the producer, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, enhanced selectivity to the desired reaction products, which reduces wasted raw materials and reduces toxic NOx emissions, and extended catalyst lifetime, which reduces downtime and lowers maintenance costs. We estimate that a typical nitric acid plant can save over $1 million in annual operating costs using HEA catalysts. We're currently working on scale up of this particular system, and we're in active discussions with several catalyst and nitric acid producers to do so. Next slide. However, that's only one potential market application. Heterogeneous catalyst market is over $20 billion in total value, covers a wide range of such applications. Based on our market assessment, we believe the technology is particularly well suited for several of these, including automobile catalytic converters, ammonia chemistry, refinery processing, and fuel cells. Our entry point is going to be ammonia chemistry, and this includes synthesis of ammonia for hydrogen storage and fertilizer production, decomposition of ammonia for hydrogen manufacture, and oxidation of ammonia for nitric acid production. These applications use long-established and expensive catalyst systems, but have opportunities for improvement that we hope to take advantage of. We expect that our HEA technology will provide opportunities to more efficiently produce and process ammonia as an alternative to some hydrocarbon-based fuels. Next slide. Now, high-tech is currently based in the TAP building, an incubator facilities at the University of Maryland College Park campus. We're currently funded by several RPE grants, including one focused on new ammonia synthesis catalysts. And we're actively pursuing additional non-dilutive money to continue our work in new catalyst discovery and to scale up our manufacturing processes. We're also actively engaged with several Fortune 500 companies in the catalyst space with the goal of jointly developing IP for specific applications. Our business model is to become a catalyst developer and process licensor, and this would enable us to focus on creating the best performing materials for our customers while deriving royalties related to the manufacture and use of our catalyst by partners and by third parties. Next slide. Our revenue will derive from multiple sources. Initially, we expect to enter into a number of paid proof of concept research programs. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the slide. The photo came, the chart came through a little funny. These will be short-term in nature, be used to justify longer-term development programs where we'd work to design specific high-tech process technology for individual customer applications. Revenue from licenses and royalties would begin to grow from the successful completion of the development programs, but the ultimate revenue sources are going to come from actual catalyst product sales to end-use customers. These products will be developed directly by Tech, manufactured either via tolling arrangements with existing catalyst producers or in our own facilities. Next slide, Ben. I want to take an opportunity to introduce the team. Professor Bing Hu from the University of Maryland College Park and Professor Cha Wang from Johns Hopkins University are founders, along with our COO, Dr. Chengwei Wang. They're all actively involved in the company. Dr. Yunhui Gong recently joined Tech as CTO. He comes from Nissan Motors. And my role is to lead the business activities and to bring this unique technology to market as quickly as possible. Next page. So in addition to non-dilutive funding grants from government sources, Tech is currently seeking $500,000 in additional unrestricted funding to help with our early phase company build out. Specifically, we're seeking money to add additional technical equipment and personnel for product development and scale up of catalyst production, to pay for an increased level of legal and administrative requirements, and also to manage development contracts and IP prosecution, and to continue our growth trajectory prior to seeking formal seed or Series A money. And the last page. And what I want to do is thank Brian Toll and Ben Margolis from MEIA for their help during this early stage of our development. And I also want to thank you all for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bob. We're going to start questions again with Theresa.
Thanks, Bob. Great presentation. Again, an exciting technology. The top question in my mind from this presentation was around the ammonia synthesis opportunity space for your catalysts. Could you talk a little bit about what you anticipate the process changes will look like for a customer should they switch from their current catalyst to the high T approach?
Okay, thank you, Theresa. Our anticipated solution will be a drop-in product that should fit into existing production facilities. And in fact, across all of the various applications that we're currently evaluating, our goal is to develop products that provide the advantages of the HEAs, but would be a drop-in into a catalyst manufacturing plant for their production, and as well as a drop-in into existing chemical facilities to ease basically the adoption into the marketplace. So we're looking at essentially commercially viable supported materials that could be used in existing facilities.
Ian, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'd be interested in you elaborating on how you had you were adding additional metals to the particle. I'd like to understand as you go forward, what else are you looking to add to it? What other metals are you looking to add, and what are the potential advantages that you're seeing by adding various types of metals?
Okay, so the advantages of the different metal atoms that are involved in each of these particles are multi-fold, right? In one case, we'll change the electronic structure of the surface of the metal particle, which changes the catalytic performance. That's one. The second, I mentioned earlier, the more metal atoms you have in a particle, the more entropy. The universe likes entropy, so the particles are more stable. And then the third, which is it's a little bit of art and certainly science, depending on the mixture of platinum group, noble metals, base metals, transition metals that you put together, you can definitely change the electronic structure. You can definitely change and sometimes stabilize the particles even more in certain applications. And that's an area of a lot of active research by the team, both the teams at the universities, Maryland and Hopkins, as well as the Tech team.
Cyril, do you have a question?
Yeah, and a related question to Ian's. You say this is a platform technology, but if you're going for a different application, how much optimization and how much work needs to be done to be able to get that?
And the answer is typically quite a lot, right? We have a starting point. Usually in each of the cases we've looked at to date, we look at the current state of the art in that application. The structure of the state of the art catalyst can be very different from process to process, and look for opportunities where what we know how to do can provide advantages. I'll give you a quick advantage or a quick answer regarding the nitric acid ammonia oxidation process. The existing catalyst is not a supported metal product at all. It's a screen, a gauze, if you will, of pure platinum doped with some rhodium. So it's an exceedingly expensive product. Typical catalyst or production facility changes out the catalyst 4 times a year. Each of the installations is $1 million of noble metals, basically. Our product, the goal we have here is to drop in a product that would be a supported system, much lower usage of noble metals, much less expensive to manufacture and to purchase by the user, and therefore providing advantages in that production. In general, though, each of these cases, it's a case-by-case basis. Typically, typical systems, the market spaces we've chosen currently utilize some form, typically, of supported metals. And we think we can provide an advantageous mixed metal system that could drop into the same process, but with catalytic advantages as well as potentially cost advantages.
Thank you, Bob. So let's move on while our judges are doing their scorecards. Let's meet Steve Sharber from the law firm of Clark Hill. Welcome, Steve. Steve, you're on mute. Sabrina, do we have Steve?
Not. I can read through Clark Hill's description here.
Why don't we?
I can't right now. You got to come back.
Okay.
Jim.
Sorry, can everyone hear me now?
Oh, there we go.
Sorry about that. Technical issues on my end. My apologies. Good afternoon, everyone. And Brian and Ben, thank you for the invitation once again. This is actually my second MEIA finale, and it's really great to see the progress that the organization is making, and also all the presenters. So quick background, I'm Steve Sharber. I'm a member at the law firm of Clark Hill. We are a full services national law firm with actually international offices across the United States and also in Ireland and in Mexico. Our energy team does a wide range of work, but really focused primarily on working with renewable energy. In my practice, working with renewable energy companies, both in regulatory and transactional related work. I have a big energy team based in DC, also in Michigan and Texas, and also some folks in New York and out in California. So very excited to be sponsors of MEIA, and as I mentioned, full service law firm, but also with a particular focus on renewables, also a lot of storage clients, and a lot of work that I do personally relates to the wholesale markets and the market rules and regulatory developments, and also the transactional nature of the work to actually make these everyone's great inventions eventually when they get commercialized. We're working with the folks that are making that happen. So thank you so much for having me, and feel free to reach out with any questions, and really looking forward to seeing the rest of the presenters today.
Thank you very much. Now let's meet Jim Hammerschmidt from the law firm Paley Rothman. Welcome, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone can hear me okay, I assume? I
Yes.
have it on off. I have mute off, I believe. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Ben, for having Paley Rothman again be part of the MEIA family. And this is our second year of participating. And like the previous fellow there, this is our second finale that we've been part of, and it's really pretty cool. It's fantastic. My name is Jim Hammerschmidt. I am the co-president of Paley Rothman. We are a 40 lawyer local regional law firm. We've been here in the Montgomery County and Maryland area for 50 years. We provide a full range of legal services. I know many of you have worked with one or more of my partners in assisting your teams in various capacities. So we're an in-kind sponsor of legal services. And Art House, I believe, is the attorney who some of you may have worked with. We're not a large firm like a Clark Hill or a Banner. We're a localized firm, and I think that helps suit us to sometimes the personal needs of the startups. We are uniquely situated to assist startups. We provide all kinds of various legal services, from contract and licensing issues to IP protection, to employment. As you're bringing on and building out your organizations, we can help you with all of those knotty employment issues that you read about and hear about in the news, and help you come up with agreements, confidentiality, non-compete, non-solicit agreements to really protect your IP as you develop your business there. So, and we are, like I said, locally based here. Congratulations to everyone who made it to this point. Nice pitches by Ted and by Bob, and I look forward to hearing from Josh and Andrew. And best of luck to everyone as you progress, not only through the finale here, but as you work to build out those plans and to scale up your entities. And we look forward to being with you on that journey. So welcome to all. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much, Jim. We're going to start our third team presentation from InventWood. We'll welcome Josh Cable, CEO of InventWood. Josh, you have 10 minutes for your presentation and 5 minutes of Q&A with the judges. Please begin.
Thank you, Brian, and hello, everyone. InventWood is an innovator of advanced wood materials. Our materials have better performance, lower cost, and far greater sustainability over alternatives. We think of ourselves as wood alchemists, as a team of scientists that have discovered ways to alter the chemistry of wood to make it an incredibly powerful and versatile material in ways the world has never seen before. Next slide, please. Let me illustrate the opportunity. Look at these two images. One is a caveman's tool. The other is an axe you could buy today. Well, the blade has changed profoundly. The handle has not. And although the new one is better shaped and maybe coated, at the cellular level, nothing has changed. We're using wood in the exact same form that the cavemen did. And that's the problem and the opportunity. And that's where InventWood comes in. Next slide, please. InventWood is committed to revolutionizing the way today's products are made to make them better, cheaper, and greener. And we're a problem solver for our clients. That is why very large, well-known companies from around the world have come to us with a goal of solving their biggest challenges. Regardless of the industry or circumstances, they've come to us to make their products better in one of these three ways. Next slide, please. And we solve these problems by deploying an extensive portfolio of wood-based innovations. Here are some of our technologies. We're able to create some remarkable wood-based materials that are, for example, stronger than steel, more insulative than styrofoam, and even one that is as clear as glass. We believe this is incredibly exciting, but don't take my word for it. Next slide, please. The world is calling out for these materials. As you can see, a number of widely read publications have featured our materials, heralding these breakthrough technologies. And what's really important is that this has led to companies around the world reaching out to us and engaging InventWood to improve their products. With virtually no marketing or proactive sales efforts, InventWood has begun working with some of the world's biggest companies. Next slide, please. To illustrate what we do, I'd like to tell the story of the Reed diffuser. If you've ever been to the lobby of a luxury hotel or a day spa, or even the bathroom at the home of your classiest friend, you may have seen one of these. This is basically a high-end air freshener. It's very simple, consisting of a bottle filled with a fragrance solution with reeds sticking out of it. The fragrance wicks up through the reeds, and the room is filled with a pleasant aroma. In theory, it looks great and works great, and that's why people pay up to $150 a bottle for some of them. In reality, these diffusers work only for a few weeks. After that, the reeds clog, and the fragrance ceases to diffuse. Even though the bottle is half full, the room no longer smells like what you want it to smell like, and smells more like, well, something else. So what happens next? Well, most consumers leave this inert but half full bottle on the shelf, sometimes for months. Some throw it away, and some complain to whomever they bought it from. Next slide, please. But more importantly, many consumers have just stopped buying them. Sales for this product have been flat at around 180 million a year for the last 5 years as people switch to alternatives. For example, if you go to Bath & Body Works today, you will find more scented candles than you can use in a lifetime, but you won't find a single reed diffuser. And that's because of this problem. Understandably, the companies that make and sell these reed diffusers have tried a number of things. They reformulated the chemistry of their fragrances, thrown in more reeds, you name it. In truth, the culprit has always been the humble reed itself, and that's where we come in. Next slide, please. We solve this challenge by making an uncloggable reed that diffuses up to 132% faster, and most importantly, can empty the bottle completely. Working with a major fragrance maker, we have validated this technology, so we know it works. And given these reeds could bring our client millions of dollars in increased profits, they are naturally extremely excited about this innovation, and we plan to introduce these reeds into the market by next year. In this way, there's a win-win. Consumers get a natural product that actually works as it's supposed to, and the fragrance makers and retailers greatly improve their product sales and turnover. Creating a new fragrance diffusing reed is just a small example of how we solve problems. Let's talk about where else our solutions can fit. Next slide. Believe it or not, we have broader ambitions beyond just making the air smell nice. And we're even more excited about another one of our innovations. This one, called metalwood, is an incredibly strong and tough wood material that is strong enough to replace steel in many applications. Yet it's also got some very compelling advantages in its own right. And unlike other engineered wood materials that simply use existing pieces of wood and glue them together, we are modifying the wood itself, which allows for far higher performance in a way that can compete fully with steel. Next slide, please. Perhaps the best thing about metalwood is that we start with a regular piece of wood, and then we put it through a proprietary patent-pending process. The process itself basically involves 2 steps: chemical treatment and densification. The outcome is a material that is 20 times stronger, more than 15 times stiffer, and far more resistant to the general perils of wood: termites, moisture, and fire. In other words, it creates a material that combines the best of metal, strength and durability, with wood, which is lightweight, natural, and generally low cost. Next slide, please. In short, I'd like to leave you with 3 key metrics. Relative to many types of steel, metalwood is about 2 times stronger, 80% lighter, and around 50% cheaper. Another fun fact for the environmentally minded of you: wood can sequester carbon dioxide, helping alleviate climate change. This is virtually impossible with any other material, especially steel, whose production is responsible for about 7 to 8% of annual global greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide, please. Here's some examples of where metalwood can be used. Everything from lightweight vehicles to better sports equipment, and of course in construction. These industries also represent some of the companies where we have validation projects underway. So as you can imagine, as the steel market is enormous, with an annual market value of over $1 trillion, there's a huge opportunity here. Next slide, please. And while we'd like to do all of those applications, we recognize the need to have a thoughtful approach. And even with an amazing material like metalwood, it's important to note that in many applications, there are a number of hurdles to commercialization that actually have nothing to do with how good the material is. These include standard regulatory approvals, supply chain adjustments, and integration with existing products. So with that in mind, we plan to start small in the short term with more consumer discretionary applications that are relatively easy to get into the market. These are things like skis and snowboards, floor tiles, and high-end furniture. We'll use this momentum to move into more complex and impactful applications like buildings and vehicles. Next slide, please. Let me say a few words about how InventWood will make money. First of all, InventWood does not want to be a manufacturer of materials. We prefer to remain in the part of the value chain that we know best and tends to be the most profitable, which is material innovation. Instead, we will partner and license with existing producers of wood products that have manufacturing facilities and expertise to produce materials on our behalf. In certain cases, our clients and the manufacturer are the same, depending on the application and industry. The goal is for us to get paid twice: a technology fee for use of our material and a royalty on a per unit basis. Next slide, please. Shifting gears, I'd just like to say a few words about us at InventWood. Here's a little bit of our history. We were founded in 2016. We won 2 major government grants in 2019, including an ARPA-E award from Metalwood. We licensed the IP from the University of Maryland in February of 2020, and we've received revenues for validation projects, and we're aiming to have a product in the market by the middle of next year. Next slide, please. And here's the InventWood team, which is composed of very well-regarded and innovative material scientists combined with highly experienced business professionals. Our technical team all has PhDs or masters in chemistry or material science. Our business team has a CFA charter holder and an MBA. We know what we're doing, and we're going to make this happen. Next slide, please. But we need your help with funding. We're asking for $2.5 million in a seed round to fund our technical development, our IP portfolio, and our commercial and business expenses. It's important to note that the federal government has already allocated about $5.5 million to these technologies in the form of federal grants. This has allowed us to refine and improve these technologies over the past 3 years, which represents a meaningful reduction in the technology risk for investors. At this stage, we're developing a growing list of prospective investors who may be interested in working with us in bringing these exciting technologies to market. Next slide, please. Thank you for your time and attention today. We hope that you are as excited about these possibilities for these new materials as we are, and please join us as we make the world a cleaner, greener, and happier place. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Josh. Let's start our Q&A with Theresa.
Thanks, Josh, for the presentation. Exciting technology. I'd love to hear, to kick things off, to hear a little bit about how you expect to manage a product pipeline when you consider the range of different options that are many of them compelling. With this.
Yeah, so we have we actually just completed a consulting project with a group called RTI. It's based in North Carolina that helped us develop a scoring rubric that essentially allows us to prioritize the applications across both the technical parameters and the commercial ones. And so we'll be using that as and be really thoughtful about which applications we've chosen. They've done quite a bit of research on a number of applications, and so they've taken a stab at filling out a lot of the data points for a number of applications. But that will be something that guides us in the future.
Ian, would you like to go next?
Yep. Great presentation, Josh. I guess in terms of the modifications you're doing to the wood, have you done any tests to kind of understand how the wood degrades over time, both within new use cases where you would obviously not want it to degrade too fast, but also environmentally, what it breaks down to and what that looks like over time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the analogy I love to use, and this is actually I got from one of our clients, is the example of newspapers. So if you put newspapers in a closet, they will last for 100 years. You throw them in the yard, they'll be gone in a month. So it really depends on the context. We have ways of treating the wood materials as well that preserve the stability of them, things like coatings and so forth. But in the right context, we can encourage them to biodegrade as they're intended to. So there's actually quite a bit to describe, but the short answer is also, I mean, these materials are far more stable than regular wood. In certain cases, even metals. So wood, as we all know, doesn't rust like metals do. So we actually were exploring an application in some high moisture and high kind of salt humidity environments where they were looking at replacing metals in favor of wood and other materials. So this actually has quite good material stability as well in a number of environments.
Cyril, would you like to go next?
Your 50% cheaper target, that's versus steel, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the barriers to getting that, and what's the pathway plan on how to achieve that?
Yeah, and that's the scaled market cost. So from there until now, we've got to scale up our production, and virtually every new material you can see just has this precipitous cost decline once the scale up is complete. To give you context, our target cost is about $2,500 per cubic meter. The equivalent volume of steel is about $4,500 to $7,000. So generally, and that's measuring it by volume is really the only way we can do an apples to apples comparison. So there are some meaningful cost savings vis-a-vis steel. And that's why we liked steel applications, because there's enough margin in them versus, for example, wood applications that may be kind of more price sensitive. But to your question, Cyril, I think the scale up is going to be very meaningful. The input woods that we use, and I didn't really mention this, but metal wood is great in that we can use virtually any wood species, which kind of points us towards using cheaper and more abundant wood species. And ideally, even potentially wood residuals, things like wood chips and sawdust. So if we can use that, those kind of things, we can drive the cost down even further.
Any technical barriers to achieve those cost targets?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what the application is. So, in terms of geometry and manufacturing precision. So, for example, in the vehicle context, manufacturing precision is very, very small because you can't have a auto part that doesn't fit with the other ones. And the geometries are quite complicated. On the other hand, in other cases, like construction or furniture, the geometries are far simpler. So it really depends on the application. I think on the lower end, or the kind of the easier geometries, we definitely will be able to hit that target. Whether we can do it with the really complex geometries, I don't think we'll need to, quite honestly. I think there'll be enough margin in those applications.
All right, Josh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, while the judges are working their scorecards, we have a couple more sponsors. Let's meet Naomi Oriole from marketing solutions provider Points North Studio. Welcome, Naomi.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for the intro. My name is Naomi, and I am a project manager at Points North Studio, located in Baltimore. Bottom line, we believe that good design can change the world. We challenge the status quo by creating experiences that connect people, passion, and causes together. We do that with exceptional brands, websites, and stories. Our clients are using tech to make big changes in energy, healthcare, civic services, and our environment. And we truly, truly enjoy and relish in the opportunity that we can be a partner in their success. We have over a decade of experience working with brands and marketing for diverse companies and global foundations. And we know what drives brand loyalty and conversions, and it really is the passion that people have for their work and how well they connect to the people that they're serving. Our motto has always been strategy first and then design, and the pitches today have been so good and interesting, and I just want to say big congrats to all of the teams and companies that are presenting today.
Thank you very much, Naomi. Now let's meet Joe Bishop from the accounting services firm Snyder Cohn. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the opportunity to do this again. My name is Joe Bishop, and I'm a CPA and a manager in the Audit and Accounting Division of Snyder Cohn, a CPA firm in North Bethesda, Maryland. We serve a wide variety of clients in several industries, and I myself specialize in serving emerging companies and startups in the tech industry, as do a number of professionals at our firm who are all members of our technology team. A few of them, in fact, are here today with me, including a couple of our partners, Cheryl Huser and Eddie Snyder, who are both leading members of the team and are here today to get to know you all better. Cheryl also is a UMD alumni, and we frequently engage with UMD to hold various workshops and presentations on accounting issues that are specific to tech companies, especially startups. We service our technology clients from both the financial statement side and the tax side, helping solve a wide variety of problems and also providing general consulting services as needed. We're always excited to work with young clients who have great ideas and are just starting out because we enjoy the process of growing and learning with them. Some of the common issues we frequently help our clients with include form of organization, specifically the advantages and disadvantages of forming as either a corporation or a partnership, R&D credits, as well as any other tax credits that are potentially available for tech companies, compensation issues, including equity compensation, and the consequences of that from both the tax and financial statement side, as well as bookkeeping issues, including keeping a good chart of accounts and various software solutions such as QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online. We have an outsourced accounting division that specializes in using QuickBooks and can always help you set it up and implement it to your needs. With our sponsorship, we're very excited to provide all the MEIA team members with pro bono services and to assist in any questions or issues they may have. we've already begun assisting a few of the teams, and we look forward to continuing those relationships and getting to know you all better. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you, Joe. All right, it's time for our fourth and final team today, Manta Biofuel. Welcome Vice President of Finance, Andrew Wills. Andrew, you've got 10 minutes for your presentation and 5 minutes of Q&A with the judges. Please begin.
Thanks, Brian. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Cool. Great. So hi, everybody. My name is Andrew. I'm the Director of Finance with Manta Biofuel, where we produce cost-competitive renewable crude oil from algae. Next slide, Ben. So I think everybody on the call knows the problem at a broad basis. It's climate change, but to be more specific, we need a renewable liquid fuel solution in order to fully address climate change. There's a lot of parts of the economy, such as shipping, aviation, a lot of industrial applications that simply can't be powered with electricity and solar and wind at this point in time. So we need a renewable liquid fuel solution. And that's where Manta comes in. So today, Manta produces a renewable drop-in heating oil from algae for $75 per barrel. And at scale, we believe we can get to a carbon negative bio crude oil for less than $25 per barrel. Next slide, Ben. So we're a mission-driven company, and our mission is to sequester over 100 million metric tons of CO2 in the next decade. So yeah, next slide, Ben. You must be wondering how we intend to achieve such an audacious goal, and this really comes down obviously to the technology, which is at the root of it, but layer on top of that is a unique business model where we plan to create a marketplace between independent farmers and energy markets. So we will sell our equipment to the farmers. They'll use it to produce oil on their own land. Manta will then offtake it and match it with basically whoever needs it on the energy market side. As a result, we'll obviously reduce greenhouse gas emissions and collect carbon credits in addition. Next slide, Ben, please. So you must be wondering, how does the technology work? How are farmers going to use it? Just give me an overview. So here it is. It's 3 basic steps to take carbon out of the atmosphere and then convert it into a carbon neutral crude oil. So the first step is to grow the biomass. And we grow our biomass in a pretty unique way. We add another waste stream, chicken manure, to open ponds and let it grow between a few days and 2 weeks. Once the bloom is fully matured, it's ready to be harvested, which is where our technology comes in. We've developed a high throughput magnetic harvester to basically remove that algae from the water in a very cost-effective way. The difference between this solution and a lot of other ones is that it's very, very energy efficient because magnets are doing most of the work. And it's also extremely high throughput. So you can process millions and millions of liters with a pretty small, simple machine. And then the final step is converting that harvested biomass into a renewable crude oil. And we use a process called hydrothermal liquefaction to do that. And in order to do that, we've developed a low-cost reactor that can do that in a distributed manner. So these machines are actually located on the farm. Typically, when people are talking about conversion of biomass, it's done at a centralized facility such as ethanol plants. We think that this distributed kind of smaller scale model gives us much better economics and is also much more environmentally friendly because you're not driving the biomass back and forth from the farm to the production or to the conversion site. Next slide, Ben, please. So given that we have a two-sided marketplace business model, you must be asking, what's your value proposition to farmers? And we actually have a very good one. And that's rooted in part because of our technology, but also because algae is just a really amazing plant. So algae, just for starters, it grows, it can double its biomass every single day. So that would be like a plant. One day it's 2 feet, the next day it's 4 feet, and then the next day it's 8 feet high. If you saw a tree doing that, that'd be absolutely nuts. But that's what algae does. And so it gives you a very, very high productivity per acre, 4 times more so than corn and soy when you account for all the costs of harvesting and growing. In addition to that, our algae crop allows people to monetize unprofitable land. So there's a lot of non-arable land scattered throughout the country. And right now it's not being used for anything, but our algae can actually be grown on it because we don't need good soil. In addition, it gives you protection from bad weather and it helps you diversify into new markets, all of which are very important for farmers who, globalization, a lot of like broad macro trends are kind of crunching their bottom line every single year. Next slide, Ben. And on the other side of that business model, the energy markets, I think the value proposition is a little bit clearer, but it's still worth reiterating. We're producing a product that's compatible with existing infrastructure. So it can be passed through a refinery, and the oil can then be refined into renewable diesel, jet fuel, gasoline, all different kinds of other hydrocarbon-based products. It doesn't require the users to change their experience or supply chain. So if you're getting oil delivered every Tuesday from your current heating oil dealer, we're going to do the same exact thing. Obviously, it allows you to be reduce your greenhouse gas emissions, but it also is cost competitive with fossil fuel. And that's kind of obviously the big thing that everybody talks about these days. The green premium is what's typically called, but in our situation, our product is actually cost competitive already. Next slide, Ben. So traction, this is where we've been since founding. We were started back in 2014. Over the first few years of the company, we were primarily grant funded. Most notably, we raised $2.2 million from the Department of Energy across 3 SBIRs. We've got a seed round ongoing right now where we've raised about coming up on $1.9 million through crowdfunding and angels. We received a strategic investment from Exelon early this year, and we completed a 200-gallon test run with the University of Maryland in February. Next slide, Ben. So looking forward, we've got a lot of cool things in store for 2021, and we think that this is going to be like the year that we really tee up the commercialization story to raise a Series A in 2022. So I think the few that are really interesting to highlight, the most important, I guess, on the roadmap is the 10,000 gallons of heating oil. We intend to sell that to the University of Maryland later this year. Another couple interesting ones are on the harmful algae bloom remediation. And so summer's coming around. Down in Florida, they're already getting hit pretty hard with harmful algae blooms, specifically because of that, I think, wastewater kind of accident down there. It's really sparking it because of like the increased nutrient levels. But there's 2 companies, 2 angles that we're really gunning at here, AECOM and Solitude, to address this problem. So with Solitude, we're going to use our harvesting technology to remove algae from harmful algae blooms. We have a demo scheduled with them in August. And then on AECOM, they're interested in using our hydrothermal liquefaction reactor to convert algae that they harvest into a renewable crude oil product. Next slide, Ben. So just a few customer testimonials from across the state. So we've spoken with Sustainability Department, University of Maryland, and they called it a no-brainer to switch to our product. And it is really, because the fuel costs the same. There's no change to their day-to-day, the maintenance technicians' jobs and duties, and it generates a lot of positive PR and helps them meet their renewability goals. Homeowners also are very excited about switching because there's growing movement towards being more climate sensitive, just in the general public. Next slide. So I won't go too far into depth here, but we can chat about it in the Q&A. This is basically a survey of our IP. We've got a number of patents and trade secrets within the company that give us a very strong IP position for a company of our size. Next slide, Ben. So this is a demand market on the energy side. We have a phased, the big takeaway from the slide is that we have a phased market entry approach. So over the next couple of years, we're targeting the heating oil market, but then shortly after that intend to move into larger markets such as heavy oil and crude oil. Next slide. And here's our plan for scaling supply. So basically through 2023, Manta is going to be producing all the oil in-house. But then after that is when we start kicking in that two-sided marketplace business model I mentioned, where we're going to start selling our equipment across the country and scaling up independent producers. Next slide, please, Ben. So this is just a quick TAM, very high level, but I think it is a good illustration. The Department of Energy found that there's over 100 million acres of land that is suitable for algae biofuel. It means, it's got the water, it's close enough to the nutrients, it's got the right soil, I guess, in terms of like, it's flat and things like that. It's not infringing on farmland, on and on. They put it through the full battery. So there are 100 million acres. If you basically just back out productivity per acre, you can find that almost 2 gigatons of CO2 emissions can be prevented every single year by switching to algae biofuel production on that land. Next slide, Ben. So here's a quick high-level overview of our technology compared to people who have tried algae biofuels before. In a nutshell, our system is agriculture, and everybody else has tried it with pharmaceutical approach. And what I mean by that is we grow a polyculture. It's wild, it's nature, it comes from chicken manure, it's dirty, it's very low tech. Where we've really put our time and effort is on the downstream processing, making that able to basically process such a diverse feedstock. Other companies focus on getting like their super bug, a strain of algae that can grow ridiculously fast. But the problem with that is you have to build a very controlled environment around it. You can see in that second box on the bottom. Some people try to grow it in plastic bags. That doesn't look very environmentally friendly. And they also use very expensive techniques to dewater, so centrifuges and things like that. I already mentioned the centralized processing, but that's another thing that really weighs on the economics and the environmental footprint of the process. So we avoid all that by doing it all on farm in a low-tech, simple way. Next slide, Ben. I think we're coming up on the end here. So here's the team founded by Ryan Powell back in 2014 after his PhD at the University of Maryland, spun some technology out from there. We've got a team of 6 full-time right now across biology and engineering functions, and we've raised funding from all the organizations you see on the bottom there. Next slide, this will be about the use of funds. So as I mentioned, we've raised about 1.9 million in the seed round over the past about 4 months. Next year, in the next 2 quarters or so, we're targeting a larger seed round to continue funding R&D and then build out the first chunk of our production site that'll be scaled up to eventually 300 acres. So I think that's the end of my presentation. Happy to engage in Q&A with anybody who's interested. You're on mute, Brian.
Thank you, Andrew. Why don't we start with Theresa?
Thanks, Brian, and thanks, Andrew, for the presentation. This is great. I'd love to start by talking a little bit more about the production side. So you mentioned through 2023 doing all the production in-house at Manta and then transitioning over to this 2-sided model where the farmers would start participating in production of the algae. Could you say a little bit more about what does it take for a farmer, or what does it take for you as Manta to get comfortable that the farmer is going to be managing their product appropriately to feed into your process?
Yeah, so in the early days, we're obviously going to be very selective about who we partner with. We've already started building up a wait list there and very loosely vetting people just to see how they'll receive this. But I think the other angle on that is we're going to build our technology in a way that it's very similar to the farm equipment that they're used to using today. And so we're not there yet, obviously. That's why we've kind of got this incubation period where it's all going to be in-house and we work out all the kinks. But that's one big solution to it. As far as what does it look like for the farmer to get onboarded and build out the system? The land is actually very simple. Our production ponds are effectively rice paddies. And so there's actually a good amount of rice farming around the country today. And so a very simple plan would be to just use rice paddies that aren't used today. But rice is incredibly cheap. So it's obviously very simple and easy to get a site like that set up and operational. But yeah, I think that's that's enough for now on that point. There's a lot more we could say about making the machinery, adapted towards our target customer audience.
All right, Ian, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, in the map you'd shown kind of the bodies of water, and they seem to be quite a bit around the outside of the U.S. And versus kind of, I imagine there's quite a bit of farming probably towards the center of the U.S. So how have you kind of thought about addressing those types of users, particularly as you transition to that other business model?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, there's definitely some hotspots around the country that would be really good for our process. In general, what you need is flat land, you need water. Our process can use salt water or fresh water, so that's a pretty big advantage. And then you need sunlight. And so that kind of gives you the places that would be most advantageous for our process. But yeah, as far as what is our scale up strategy, how are we going to think about that? I think it makes a lot of sense to start in one particular geography first, build up a good density there. And so there will be a lot of pre-work that goes into screening who's in those regions, what kind of land there is, what kind of resources, how can financing be arranged so that they can get the equipment on their farm, things like that. But I think, at this early stage, Texas and Louisiana look like very good places to be, obviously because of the proximity to all of the oil infrastructure in the country, but also the weather and being near the Gulf is very helpful.
Cyril?
I like how you've tried to address a lot of the shortfalls of getting fuels from algae. and also avoiding the capex of like a photobioreactor. But how much of this outdoor growing have you folks done? Like how much variability have you seen in the algae? Have you seen contamination from, you know, other bugs? Like how do you know you can get consistent algae?
Yeah, so the first like really high level reaction I have to your question is that we actually grow the weeds. So we don't really have, we grow what's called a wild polyculture. So there's all kinds of different species of algae that just like exist in nature. And we at any given time will have probably at least 2 or 3 strains like making up a large chunk of the biomass in the pond. So contamination isn't such a big deal for us. Obviously, there are weeds like that we try to prevent, and we have like techniques for doing that, and it's not that difficult. But yeah, so as far as, sorry, someone just walked in the house. And as far as you know, variability goes, you'll definitely see it. And different algae will have, you know, different lipid contents and will have different growth rates. But the system that, or I guess the perspective that we take on it is that if you can get above 0.2 grams per liter of algae in every, you know, across your ponds, the system will be economic downstream, because our hydrothermal liquefaction technology is pretty agnostic as far as the feedstock goes. It can not only take in algae, but it can also process, you know, municipal solid waste, biosolids, food waste, like basically any source of carbon can effectively be converted into renewable crude oil with that technology. So I hope that answers your question about, like, I guess our system is very, it can handle a very wide range of variability on the growth side, which takes a lot of the cost out of that segment.
All right, thank you, Andrew. So that's the last of our presentations. And while the judges are working, we're going to introduce our last sponsor, Greg Stone, the intellectual property partner from Whiteford Taylor Preston. Welcome, Greg.
Thanks for the intro, Brian. And I guess first, many thanks to Brian, Ben, and to MEIA really for the program today, and for the invitation for Whiteford Taylor and Preston to participate in this community. New sponsors this year, so this is the first opportunity that I've had to participate, and we're thrilled to be here. I also want to extend congratulations on behalf of Whiteford Taylor and Preston to all of the teams today. It's been great to hear the details of these fantastic and really essential innovations. By way of background, I'm a patent attorney and partner here at Whiteford Taylor and Preston. Whiteford is a full-service mid-Atlantic law firm with about 175 attorneys. We've got offices here where I am in Baltimore, and other offices in Maryland, in addition to offices in DC, Virginia, Kentucky, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New York. I myself serve as co-chair of our technology and intellectual property practice group, which really handles all manner of intellectual property issues. So that's things like patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, IP policy development, ownership issues, licensing, privacy and data security issues, litigation that relates to all of that stuff, and really anything else that falls under the big IP umbrella. And so while our group represents clients ranging in size from 2-person startups to Fortune 500 companies, we have a real passion for startup entities. It's just that excitement at the early stage of getting a company up and standing and then working towards bringing a new innovation to market. And we've really concentrated an effort over the last 20 years really in trying to feed that community and nurture that community, particularly by supporting folks that have been affiliated with a number of different incubators and accelerators throughout the state. And so now we're, again, thrilled to be here as a part of the MEIA community, serving in that same capacity, just trying to help support the member companies in whatever way we can with their intellectual property issues. So just to conclude, I know that I'm in the way of the end of the program. Just want to wish the best of luck to all the teams. And again, say many thanks for giving us the opportunity to be a part of the MEIA community. So thanks very much.
All right, thank you, Greg. Okay, so now it's time for our audience poll. So I'm going to ask each of you to imagine that you work for a venture capital firm and you need to recommend to your investment committee a $500,000 investment in one of these startups, which startup would you recommend? Sabrina, let's launch the poll and give everyone the chance to select their favorite. I'll give everyone about 10 more seconds to pick. I'm going to pick one too.
Brian, the judges may need another minute.
Okay. All right. I didn't bring the Jeopardy theme song with me, but we can hum it to ourselves. And thank you to everyone who's sending such nice chats to us. We're also very excited about the prospects for all of these companies. All right, let's show the results. A tie. Wow. Congratulations, Inventwood and Manta. That's very exciting. I don't think we had a tie last year, so this is really exciting news. Ben is tabulating, I think, the winner. And Ben, tell me when you're ready, and then we're going to introduce Heather to make the award.
Not quite yet.
Okay. I know it's a tough one because the teams are so also.
Okay, we're ready.
All right. So before we announce the judges' selection and the winner of our $1,000 prize, Ben and I want to quickly thank the Maryland Clean Energy Center's Executive Director, Kathy Magruder, MCEC Communications Director, Sabrina Bachman, and Margaret Service, who was our intern from the University of Maryland Robert H. Smith School of Business and assisted the teams throughout the cohort. We also want to thank the Maryland Clean Energy Center Board of Directors for its support. Additionally, we want to thank MEIA Advisory Committee members, University of Maryland Professor Eric Waxman, Alex Pavlak from the Future of Energy Initiative, and Al Dalia from Frostburg State University. My last bit of housekeeping for today before we announce the winner: when you disconnect from Zoom, from this webinar, Zoom will ask you a quick 2-question survey. Please take a second and fill that out. And so now is the moment we've been waiting for, and I'd like to introduce Heather Graham from the Maryland Department of Commerce, who will now present the $1,000 prize to the judges' selection. Welcome, Heather.
Brian, thanks so much. And what an amazing afternoon of great presentations. It's no wonder it took so long for the judges to make a decision. 4 really great companies. For those I haven't had the chance to meet, I'm Heather Graham, Senior Director of Strategic Industries and Entrepreneurship with the Maryland Department of Commerce. And as Secretary Schulz mentioned earlier, we really do enjoy being a partner in this program. We have mutual goals in supporting entrepreneurship and innovation and advancing the energy industry here in Maryland. And so it's a really great connection between our 2 organizations. And so with that, what you are really waiting for is the magic moment. The winner of the MEIA competition today is Manta Biofuels. Congratulations, Manta.
Yay, congratulations. Andrew, do you want to say anything? If you're still with us? No? Okay, then I will thank everyone for joining, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your summer, and thank you for attending, and we will see you next year.